Welcome to The Climb. This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. As a matter of fact, that's literally what The Climb means. It's an acronym that stands for Creating Leverage in the Music Business. I want to introduce you to my co-host and my good friend, Brent Baxter. Brent is an award-winning hit songwriter with cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady Antebellum, Joe Nichols, and many more. He also helps songwriters turn pro, which is what you're interested in, by teaching the art, the craft, and the business of songwriting. And you can find Brent, if you're OG, at manvsrow.com. That's manvsrow.com. And if you're just coming in, you're going to find him at songwritingpro.com.
That's right. And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. It's an innovative artist development company. They help you find your sound, and they help you find your audience. Not only do they develop and improve your artistry, they also grow and monetize your fan base, creating what?
Cash flow.
Cash flow! Yeah, that's right. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That's production, singular, no S. Hello, Johnny.
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Man, I'm doing all right. I'm just trying to stay hydrated, trying not to sweat too much.
You're trying to stay hydrated, and I'm drinking a cocktail going the other way.
Well, there we go. That pretty much sums up our whole friendship, right?
It really is. You're the moral core of this show, and I'm the edge.
And you're the shiny candy coating.
I'm the what could happen. Well, you know what? Today we're going to be, we talk about marketing a lot on here. Mm-hmm. When I do my episodes, we talk a lot business and songwriting when you do your episodes. And I want to revisit, this has been by far, in a way, my most popular blog article ever. Mm-hmm. Like there's the distant second is distant. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being reused and it's inspirational. Mm-hmm. And it's 10 reasons why you shouldn't give up. 10 reasons not to give up. Artists struggle with that every day. We have if we're artists, if we're songwriters, we're always got that little doubt voice in there. It's always working against us. And I just wanted to give you some things to latch on to because there's been a lot of negativity in the music industry too, hasn't there?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how much do you hear now? Everybody's like, well, nobody's buying records anymwell, of course.
Yeah, I just think of that Bill Paxton line from Aliens. Game over, man. Game over.
Yes. What the hell are we going to do now? Yes. Why don't you put her in charge? I love that show.
Classic.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's, nobody's buying records anymore, but then Taylor Swift's selling records, Adele's selling records. Right. They're proving that wrong. Nobody can make any money in the music business anymore, but Granger Smith's certainly doing okay.
He's doing all right.
So how's this happening? I want to give you some reasons why you should be in there, but you got to be serious about it too. Wishing for something to happen isn't work.
Right.
Wanting something to happen more than life itself isn't work. Mm-hmm. You got to do the work, But let's talk about it. I mean, I think the biggest thing, and you mentioned this in a previous podcast before about the would you call it the success bias? The
survivorship bias. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where we tend to focus on the stories of the people that made it.
Right. And so think about this, like in terms of a restaurant, right? Like for survivorship bias, like a lot of people think, man, there's this favorite restaurant down the street. They've been around forever. I love them. I really want to open up a restaurant. What they don't know is that 90% of the restaurants in their area that opened up have closed.
Right.
Like in the year and failed. And they don't see that. They only see the
ones that are making money
they have in front of them. Right. So you've got to think above and beyond. And when it comes to success for songwriters and success for indie artists and major label artists, we only see the success as success. Mm-hmm. We're only exposed to the success. We only see them when they become into our awareness, which is when things are going good.
Right.
We don't see that every success comes with mountains and mountains and mountains of struggle. Mm-hmm. Right? And hurdles, obstacles, bullets dodged, speed bumps. They're there's always a backstory. There's failure, heartbreak, doubt, fear, second thoughts. The fact that they didn't give up and they got through all of that is a huge component is to the success, right?
Yeah.
And here's something I want people to think about. This is knock, knock, knock. What's that?
Who's there?
It's math.
Ooh, math.
It's math. Here's the math. I can guarantee that you're going to fail. Guarantee you're going to lose. You're going to fail.
Mom, is that you?
If you don't try again.
Oh, if you don't try again.
Did I trigger something over there, Brent?
Sorry, wait a moment. I'm just kidding, Mom.
I'm going to guarantee that you're going to fail if you don't try again, but nobody can guarantee failure if you don't give up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that again. Did you catch that? Nobody can guarantee failure if you don't give up. So it's a scientific fact that you can win if you don't give up, but you will definitely lose if you stop, if you quit.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So the only thing that is impossible is what you don't try to achieve, right? And what's the worst that can happen? You got to try again. You got to learn. I mean, Edison figured out 2,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
Right.
When you go to heaven, you go locate Edison.
Right.
He's not going to tell you he failed, not once. He's like, I figured out that wasn't one way. I tried another way. That didn't work.
Right.
By the way, a guy that did an average of 1,000 experiments per patent.
Wow.
Which meant 1,000 failures per patent before he decided I got enough to go in here. And General Electric is created by Thomas Edison. So one of the most iconic companies in our history as a country was started by one man with that vision, right? So you got to try again. Here's 10 reasons not to give up. Number one, in the new music industry, it's all about talent again. Mm-hmm. With radio, the power of radio used to be to make the unfamiliar familiar. Everybody, since the dawn of man, has always had musical taste. Whether you liked it or didn't like it, they know what they like, and they want to hear what they want to hear. And what do they want to hear? What they know.
Right.
They want to hear their jam, even if it's Beethoven. I want to hear that Beethoven jam. I want to hear my jam. And so we're listening for what we've already been exposed for on the radio back in the day. This is 5 years ago. And we're getting exposed to new music in the process, right? We're being forced to listen to that. But now that that's not happening, there's other ways that are going on. Radio doesn't have the power to do that. So, but with radio being a mass media kind of mechanism and television, hype works in that. But now that it's shifted towards everybody's getting exposed to new artists through their smartphone.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
It doesn't work that way. Hype doesn't work. So guess what? The days of the manufactured artist with no talent or just the talent of hustle but very little artistic talent are over. So if you can sing, if you can write, if you got a big personality and you know how to turn that on when the red light goes on the camera, God bless you. The new music business is about you. So I want you to keep that, in mind.
So it's like it's finally about talent. So hustle. Yeah. That is why you should hustle.
That's right. Because you in the last podcast you mentioned something. You're like, all those really great singers out there like Carrie Underwood and Blake Shelton, great singers, right? And they also hustlers.
Hustle.
Right? They also know how to work.
That's right.
And then there's a lot of people that have mediocre talent that are out there and are big stars. And guess what they also know how to do? Hustle and work. So guess what? Knock, knock. Another math or again. What's the common denominator is the mathematical term that we will use.
All right.
Hustle is the common denominator that made the talented and the untalented famous and rich. And you know what? You don't need to be famous. You don't need to be rich. You just need to make a living doing what you love to do, which is the biggest blessing you could ever have. Amen. And that's going to take hustle, but it is all about talent again. So you need to get that out there to people, right? Number two, pressure equals creation. Necessity is the mother of invention. That's a fact. So if you thrive on pressure, even if you think you do thrive on pressure, even if you think you don't, and you're stronger than you think you are. And people, we see this in times of great terror. right? Think about the 9/11 attacks. Think about these bombings and these shootings that are going on and these heroic events that we see. We see people just come out of nowhere and become heroes and step up. You're stronger than you think you are if you put yourself in a pressure situation. You're going to step up, let it happen. And, Rick Rubin, famous record producer, by the way, not a musician. A lot of people don't know that. Not Rick doesn't know anything about it. He knows he's all business, doesn't know anything about music. So what do you think Rick's got for his engineer and the people in the studio? Those guys are, nope, that's not the right note. We got to go here. All right, just make that happen. But Rick's all about, he can get into the artist's head. He's a psychologist, right? And so he did this with, I'm going to give you a direct example of two separate things where he worked with, it wasn't Green Day, it was Weezer. And he just gave them a week before they were supposed to start the record. He came back and lied to them, I think. And listen, I'm paraphrasing the story, so don't hold me to it. But the concept is there. Basically, a week before the downbeat, before they're supposed to go and record, he said, you know what? We don't hear a single. All the songs you wrote, we don't hear a single. We need another song. So he gave them the drum beat for Pour Some Sugar on Me. Pour some sugar. He's like, go write this with this beat, write a song. And guess what happened? Beverly Hills, that's where I wanna be. Living in Beverly Hills. And then he did the same thing again, the exact same thing again with Tom Petty. Tom, we don't hear a single. And but it's pressure, right? He's adding pressure to it. Like before, listen, you got 5 days before we go into the studio and we're going to blow all this money on, we don't hear the single. So here's the drum beat for Pour Some Sugar on Me. Go write a song to this. Let's see what you can do. And he came back with, If I Were King, right? Or King for a Day. I can't remember the name of the song, but It's Good to Be King. That was the name of the song. It's Good to Be King. And so he's in a very psychological way, applying pressure to the artist. And those were singles that they released. I think, I'm not sure about Tom Petty, but I'm pretty sure that the Weezer single, Beverly Hills, was the lead single, number one single.
Nice.
So how does that work, right? Don't be afraid of pressure. Pressure's good. That's why you can't quit. Bring the pressure on. So number three. Failure. I just read a story with somebody who was telling me, not telling me, they wrote in the article, but I mean, I felt like they were talking to me, right? But they were saying, when we would come home, our dad would ask us, like, what'd you fail at today? And not in a, you're a failure.
Right, not in a gotcha way.
Yeah, but what kind of, how much guts did you have today? And how did that manifest itself, and what got screwed up? Talk to me about it, What a great way, right? You need failure.
So don't give up because you need some failure.
Yeah, don't give up because you fail.
Right.
I mean, what would you be doing, right? What would I be doing if we gave up on the first, second, or third failure?
I wouldn't be walking. I'd still be crawling.
There you go. I think something like 50% of people quit after their first failure, and something like 80% of people quit after the second failure, and 95% of people will quit after the third failure. So if you got the guts, the stones, the cojones, the balls to get past the third failure, all of a sudden the herd thinned out.
Thinned out quite a bit, yeah.
So failure is what teaches you how to win. I mean, every success is preceded by a ton of failures. And if you talk to any billionaire, any rock star, any sports star, any famous writer, anybody, any famous athlete, I mean, they're going to tell you, I failed way more than I succeeded, right? What did you say about Babe Ruth?
Struck out more than anybody, right? Those years he was the home run king. He's also the strikeout king.
That's right. Brett Favre, right? My hero, Green Bay Packers, my beloved Brett Favre. Got the most interceptions, but guess what? He's a freaking rock star.
Hall of Famer.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame of Hall of Famers, of that, like those, like the Michael Jordans, like the people that are just so exciting to watch because just love of the game. They're not afraid to take a chance, know? And by the way, Michael Jordan cut from his high school basketball team. Michael Jordan.
Yep.
cut from his high school basketball.
No.
Like, what? Like,
Yeah.
You're not good enough.
Sorry, Mike.
Go over here. Yeah, go with the cheerleaders. We need some real basketball players here,
Yeah.
and okay. Sheryl Crow got a major label deal. A lot of people don't know this. And she recorded her first album with A&M for Herb Alpert. And it was a pop record. Now, she was a background singer.
I don't remember her doing a pop record.
Because it never came out.
Oh, look at that.
What kind of failure is that? Now, let's take that failure and inject a whole lot more poison into it. That record was about to come out, and it was a pop record, and it was all slick and clean and pretty, and she realized there's no rough edges on there, and her life was full of rough edges, and she got caught up in the system, and she let a lot of people make decisions for her. And she went to Herb Alpert, the head of the record and label, and said, we can't put this record out. And Herb's like, what? She's like, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to put it out.
Wow.
And that was that. And what do you think the record label did?
Well, they probably weren't too happy about it.
No, they sued her. So she went into a deep depression because she had this opportunity, the one she'd been waiting for forever, but she knew that wasn't who she was as an artist. It wasn't from the inside out. It wasn't in consonant with who she was as an artist. And she had to stand up for herself, and she had the guts to do it. She had the guts to fail. Okay? And how many times do you see that happen with like American Idol or The Voice or whatever? They get like in the top 5 and they get put into the machine, and then all of a sudden the machine is not who they are. And because they don't have a very strong sense of who they are as an artist, they just start saying yes to everybody because they got their hat in their hand. Right. And they're happy to, and they're afraid to fail and say no. And all of a sudden they get put over here. Right. And we never hear from them again, you know? So, so she goes in a 6-month depression. By the way, I don't think she ever got out of bed for 6 months or whatever. Her boyfriend, who's now deceased, was a famous studio guitar player. And he, along with Bill Bottrell, a producer, because they love Sheryl, because she was a friend, just created this little Tuesday night thing where they all get together and drink a bunch of whiskey and smoke a bunch of weed and just get creative and play in the sandbox, you know? And they would just go in and they just begged her to just come out. Let's just go play. Let's just go play. Let's just go play. And really, it was all about helping Sheryl just get out of the depression. Don't worry. You're going to get through this. And then I know this because my buddy, Jerry Jordan, was an engineer on this. Bill called him up and he's like, hey man, we're like all getting really hammered over here. And they would play little games. Like, if you're a good, whatever you're proficient at is the instrument you can't play tonight,
Right. Yeah.
And so that's why those arrangements and guess what? The record was called Tuesday Night Music Club. Those arrangements are real simple and real honest because there's a musician playing them, but he wasn't a bass player. He wasn't a guitar player. Right. And they would do all these crazy little creative things, but it was all about helping her get out of the depression. But then they started to get some really cool stuff, and Bill was like, somebody's got to be sober and drive the ship and record this. And so Jerry ended up recording those things. But that's why you can't be afraid to fail, so make that happen. Number four. The Pursuit.
The Pursuit. That sounds like a good movie. Tell me about it.
Right? Well, life happens as you make your way toward your goal. What do they say? Life is what happens while you're busy making plans.
Yes.
You got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy it, man. You got to enjoy the wins and the losses,
I tell songwriters all the time, enjoy the journey because that's all you're guaranteed to have. There's no certain destination that you're guaranteed to have, but you are guaranteed to have a journey. So enjoy that part.
That's right. And take it. And, and the people that really do enjoy the journey, that figure out, like, spiritually how to really do that, they're beloved, aren't they? Aren't they the people that you just want to be around? Oh, yeah. They're like your favorite people on the planet.
Positive people.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
This is, this time in your struggle, these are the moments that you're going to remember forever. Some of my best stories that I tell about my road life when I was on the road with the band, I just, at the moment, was just the biggest freaking catastrophe you could possibly imagine. Like, there's nothing else that could go wrong right now. Holy crap, that just happened. You know what I mean? Like, no way. Like, no. And it's just, now they're fantastic stories,
Exactly, yeah.
And I remember them, and I got over it, you know. And I know it's cliche, but people say it too much. But think about it, you know. It's not a destination; it's a journey. And a lot of writers, we've had a podcast about this already. They think it's a destination. A lot of artists get the deal; they think it's a destination. Now I can kick my feet up and just let them work for me.
Right?
And no, not going to happen. You hop off that destination, you're going down the, you know, your CTD.
You know what? You're at a destination because you're done. You're not going anywhere else.
That's right. You're circling the drain.
Right.
So, you know, whether you're up on your way up or you're on your way down, there's no plateau where things calm down and you relax, so you can't give up. You can't give up. You can't ever give up, right? Like when you've got your first hit record out and you prove to the world you're like Taylor Swift, you sold 5 million records and every other schlepp's barely selling 1 million. Guess what? You don't get to give up.
Right.
You don't get to relax. Now you got to beat that, right?
Right.
And then when you're on your way down, you got to work even harder to try to not fall as far as fast.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So that you can extend your career a little bit longer and try to make that happen. So there's the bottom line is the joy is creating.
Yes, it is.
It's making a living creating. Whatever living that is, man. If you can make a living creating while everybody else is hopping on the hamster wheel, you are blessed.
You are. Without a doubt.
Blessed. So number 5.
Number 5.
You are strong. You're stronger than you think, you know.
Especially after I eat a lot of garlic.
Yep.
No, that's not what you mean. Okay, sorry.
That's not what I mean.
Okay,
no,
sorry.
But you know, you have the capability and understand the fact that your career is always full of challenges. So if everything is a hassle to you, if the glass is half empty, if you are going to approach life from a weak sort of standpoint, I promise you, your life's going to be miserable, right? What's the old saying? There's a man who thinks he can and a man who thinks he can't, and both men are right. Which man are you? You know? And so as long as you think you can, as long as you think that's a hassle, then it is.
Right.
As long as you're going to let that speed bump or catastrophic explosion in your journey, as long as that's as big as you think it is, it's as big as you think it is.
Yeah.
You know,
So
I mean,
don't go for the victim mentality.
Yeah, there's Olympic athletes with one leg, you know, or that are missing. Like, and you got to look at them like, what are my problems? I don't have problems.
Right.
You know, so you got to take challenges. You got to eat them for breakfast. You know, success comes when you resign to yourself to dealing with the challenges as challenges and not excuses. Like, how am I going to get over this? How am I going to make this work? At Daredevil, we're surrounded by people in the music industry every day that are like, nobody's buying records anymore. Well, I see that they are buying records. I see those as excuses.
Right.
It's not that they're not buying records. The question is why?
Right.
Why aren't they buying records? Like, what changed? And we are asking those kinds of questions and then saying, how can we fix that? How can we create the connection? How can we make somebody feel good again about buying a record?
Yep.
And say, man, this is worth it, you know, because that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, if you look at the best-selling country artist in 2004, it was sold 11 million copies. That was Shania Twain with Up, right? Wow. And in 2014, the best-selling country artist was Jason Aldean, and he barely cracked 1 million. Yeah. They had the same amount of spins. You could argue Jason Aldean might be on more stations and reaching more people because there's more country stations in 2014 than there were in 2004.
Well, you definitely have a lot more outlets where people carry music around in their pocket, in their phones and all that stuff. So, I mean, definitely more access to music.
Right. So from a strong point of view, if we sit there and we say, well, you know, I mean, is Jason Aldean a millionaire? Yeah. Does he sell at friggin' arenas? Yeah. But why don't people buy his records? Well, if we approach that from a weak point of view and say, well, here's why. Here's the excuse.
Because nobody's buying records.
Right. And that's why. And so there it is. That ends the conversation. Now we just have to figure out how to live on selling less than 1 million records rather than how to make it happen with 10 million or 11 million.
Right,
you know, we want to come at it from a challenge of, man, you know, let's go. Whether, you know, whether there's 1, 10, or even 1,000 setbacks, it's not enough to stop you. You are strong. You will prevail. You've got to get through. There's no way. I mean, when I was an artist, there was no plan B. It's like, look, we just got sideswiped. Okay. Let's get it back together. Everybody dust off. You okay? You okay? Everybody breathing? Yep.
All right.
We're still all right. How are we gonna fix this?
All right.
We got to get around this and get on the next thing, and take the next step. That is positive thinking, and it's what has to happen for that. So there you go. I mean, that is part 1 of 10 reasons why you shouldn't give up. That brings us to the end of another beautiful decline podcast.
But before we go, Johnny, you have a couple things you want to share with the audience, right? You want to...
Couple things. Yeah. First, as always, the free Twitter book. If you haven't downloaded it yet, if you're new to the show, go to giftfromjohnny.com, JOHNNY, giftfromjohnny.com. And it demystifies Twitter, tells you how the app works. It shows you the tools and some methods that we use that will allow you to gain 1,000 targeted followers every single month, and you'll spend 15 minutes a day doing it. So it's pretty good information. It's totally free. Just click yes and tell us where to send it, and we'll get it right to you. You'll have instant access to it.
Awesome.
And the second thing is, a lot of people listen to the blog, they read my articles, or they listen to the podcast, they read my blog articles, and they try to apply as much of that knowledge as they can to their situation, but sometimes they need just a little bump, a little help, a little
hand-holding.
Little things. A little hand-holding. Yeah. So, you know what? Hit us up at info@daredevilproduction.com. Production is singular, remember, there's no S. info@daredevilproduction.com. And we do offer consulting. We charge for that. But you'd be amazed at what we can accomplish in 1 hour. I'll look at all your social media. I'll look at your store. If you got a web store, I'll check that out, your website, and just give you a whole list of things that it'll be a ton of information in 1 hour that you can start focusing on and get yourself to the right, moving forward, get some momentum.
It will be actionable.
Oh, there you go.
You'll have stuff to do, and that's valuable.
There you go. So with that, guys, we will say good night, and we want you to keep on climbing.
We'll see you at the top.